I'm Jordan,
And I'm Wyman.
and you're
Yep.
watching
Speedway
Speedway
Pulse
Pulse
Media.
Media.
Hey
Hey, Thomas,
Thomas,
how are you?
What's up?
awesome, awesome. We're glad to have you on here. Our second interview. How you been doing today?
I've been doing good. You?
Oh, can't complain. We
Happy to be
we're
part of
real
it.
happy to have you on here for our second one.
No, of course. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dude, whenever you DM'd Wyman and he's like, yeah, I never texted him. He just texted me first. I was like, oh, we're taking off. This is great. So,
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, it got us jumping. So,
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
was
That's
super
awesome.
awesome to get that one. But we'll go ahead and start it. We like to ask drivers. This is it don't matter, what you race, what your background is, but what was your first big start in racing? What, kind of hooked you and wanted you to pursue this as a career?
Um, I mean, listen, my dad used to
Hmm.
do drag racing, right?
Yeah.
But he stopped doing it once he had me. So I didn't
Hmm.
really grow up around it, but I grew up around people who liked cars, right?
Hmm.
So growing up, I was the same as most kids were, had Matchbox cars, used to throw them at the walls. Watched Lightning
yup.
McQueen a lot, and eventually started doing baseball, gymnastics, and some dance, hip hop dancing. And
Oh,
I was just
wow.
lost at the time. Yeah, no, definitely a lot different than what I usually do. But I was just trying to figure it out. And I was like
Mhm.
probably 9, 10 years old. And then it was a snow, it was, I believe, probably a Monday or a Tuesday, and school snowed out.
Mhm.
And my dad took us all to an indoor go-kart track. We took our cousins, my brother. We went, and then the rest is history. It's just the addiction of winning and going fast, even though it's only 30 miles an hour and inside a building, it felt like 200 miles an hour at the time. So we did that, and I liked it so much more than my brother and my cousins to the point where my dad put me in a real local championship in karting, and it just kept snowballing from there. But yeah.
Awesome. And I think, that's where we all start, we all go to one of those go-kart tracks and then, I think that it just kind of eats at you. You want to keep doing it. You want more and more, and for some of us it gets lucky, we get to move up and, from karts to, legends cars or, maybe even me like kind of like you when inspect Miatas and stuff and, you're able to develop and you're able to get those skills and it's able to help you get to the next level of it.
Right. Which my dad, before he had me, he raced go karts, dirt go karts. And
Really?
yeah. And so I really like, wouldn't know much about racing, but at the same time, it was like, oh, one of these little NASCAR diecasts popping in every now and then. And then I watched a race on TV and I was like, that's fun. I want to do that. So my dad got me a dirt go kart and I started racing those. And then, I mean, high school, still there, senior year. So schoolwork's there. So I really didn't have the time to continue doing it. So I really just stepped out of it and now just sit here and do this. So,
Yeah, I mean I guess that's something different that I grew up with compared to most kids. Uh, I didn't grow up necessarily, but I started racing go-karts a little bit later than usual. But I was a road course guy. Like I was going down the IndyCar Formula Car path.
Mhm.
I used to race go-karts, road course go-karts with Brent Cruz, Connor Zillage, and we
Oh
grew
yeah.
up racing
oh,
together.
wow.
Even yeah, so they started racing like seven to 10 years before I did. But once I got into it, we went into it hard, obviously, and raced a lot. Raced the national races, and eventually got up to speed, and it was just us three racing for wins week in and week out. So, yeah, and then after that, went to Spec Miata racing. You know, you can't if you crash, it's only a couple grand instead of
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
more than that. So we had to learn. Um, and then after that, it kind of was a little bit lost. Again, we don't know necessarily where to go. There's no specific path. But again, Brent Cruz, Connor Zillers, they know a little bit more than we did, and they got into cards before I did as well. And we followed their path. We're all really close buddies, and especially our dads were
Mhm.
really close friends. So just kind of follow the way and see where it takes us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of bring that up, I think that's really cool seeing a lot of drivers that race together, they kind of start up, in a spurt, start like in karting and then you see them all work up together and, the one series like y'all three have been, killing it in Trans Am last couple of years, and you've had that win at Coda and Trans Am is a series that you see a lot of, a lot of big names go to that. I think it's I think it kind of it's really the in between of a sports car and a NASCAR from based off what I've seen on them. And so you see a lot of guys want to do both, but you see a lot of them do the road courses to get better at it. I was talking to Sam Mayer maybe a year or two ago, and he said that driving that was real similar and really helped him get up to speed at tracks like Road America.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everything's changed. Before you needed to be a dirt racer to get into
Mhm.
NASCAR. Now you need to be not doesn't necessarily depend fully on that, but
Mhm.
now it's more of the road course stuff. So Trans Am really started to become a young driver development
Mhm.
series, and it kind of died for a little bit, and then a lot of young go kart drivers started going there, and a lot of NASCAR started actually scouting
Mhm.
over there. So yeah, it definitely helps a lot. And personally, in my opinion, I think road course is a lot harder than oval when it comes to actually doing a lap. I
Mhm.
think though racing it around an oval is a little bit more difficult and complex. You can't just dive bomb, right? But
Yeah.
Right.
other than that, though, I think road course teaches you things that nothing else could really teach you.
Mhm.
There's 15 different corners around an entire lap, um, and you just got to figure out a way to manipulate the car around the track fast enough. So, yeah, definitely a cool series, and seeing where I could go with that.
Absolutely. And you look at it from this way, no two tracks are the same, but they all kind of have similarities.
What, the oval tracks or the road course
Or
tracks?
the road courses.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, there's only so many corners you can make up, right? But
Yeah, right.
there's,
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot. Like I've been to probably almost every road course in the entire country at this
Mhm.
point. And everyone's unique in its own way. But once you start to get that rhythm down,
Mhm.
you can do it with your eyes closed. You go out there in one session and understand where the grip is. But whether the tarmac's different or the camber, the racetrack's different. Maybe if you're going downhill, uphill. Regardless, I just think it's almost like racing 20 different ovals in one lap. So
Right.
I think the experience you get from a road course is a lot more beneficial than racing oval your entire life. You see that with a lot of the Cup drivers or NASCAR drivers nowadays, where they struggle with the road course stuff and can only run the oval stuff. Obviously, it's predominantly oval, but I think the drivers that can do the road course stuff have a huge advantage at the road courses,
Right.
and then can also get around an oval fast.
Right, which that's why pretty much NASCAR, anytime some big road course guy comes in, they call them the road course ringers because I mean they do it all the time. And then
Yeah.
you have the normal Cup guys like Kyle Busch. He's just sitting there. Oh, I run ovals and everything. I don't really run much road courses. And then you have like SVG did last year come in, same car basically, just sitting on the opposite side at a street course, which he always runs at, and he did what everybody said he was going to do and won the race.
And that's why people like Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson, and you could even throw in Truex and Elliott in there, are, in my opinion, better drivers overall because they could win on the oval stuff and they can win on the road course stuff. Where you
Right.
got some of the other drivers, sure, they win a lot, but they don't win on the road course stuff, which is now turning more into that stuff. So
Oh yeah,
road course
absolutely.
is starting to dominate the NASCAR field.
Would you say that,
Right.
the cars maybe drive similarly compare, you see driver, like the NASCAR or other drivers from other series coming to NASCAR. Would you say that maybe their cars drive a little bit similarly to our NASCARs?
But the Trans Am cars,
Well, maybe Trans Am, but a lot of these other, major road racing series kind of.
um, Uh, definitely not the GT stuff or the IMSA
Mhm.
stuff, but the Trans Am car I think would probably be the closest thing to it. The NASCARs are 3,400 pounds. The
Mhm.
Trans Am car is only 2,800 pounds, so
Oh
600
wow.
pounds lighter. The NASCARs have 700 horsepower, and we have only 500.
Mhm.
So, but other than that, it's the same. There's no ABS. There's
Yes.
no traction control. It's very hot.
Mhm.
It's just as difficult in the car. It's just our cars are much faster
Yes.
around a lap. But other than that, in my opinion, if you could drive anything. If
Mhm.
you can't adapt to anything else quick enough, then uh, you're not all the way there. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a stock car. If that's really all I got. If you can't
Yeah.
drive anything else, that's a problem. So,
Uh,
um, I don't think it matters too much how close it is, but it's definitely close. Definitely helps you.
you know, I've people seeing you race in multiple different series this year, between ARCA, Trans Am, and even dipped your feet in a few Xfinity starts. What are maybe some similarities between them and some differences that people see?
Um, the best way to put it is Trans Am. Trans Am. Everyone that races there is a road course specialist. You got me. My teammate was an IndyCar driver at one point.
Mhm.
He's in there now. There's a lot of people from Europe who race the GT stuff that come into Trans Am, and then you got some people from NASCAR. But the Trans Am series, I believe that I think the people there or the drivers there are better at the road course stuff, but
Mhm.
it's also there like you can't pull an Austin Dillon at Richmond, right? There
Yeah.
there is penalties. If you even door someone, you get a 45-second penalty. So it's
Oh
clean
wow.
racing and you will get
Oh.
yeah, no. If you I don't know, you could get someone loose, spin them out. They don't have to necessarily end their day, but that gives you a 45-second penalty. I've got some myself. So you can't just barge your way through there. So then going to the ARCA stuff at the road course because I've done a few road course stuff with the NASCARs. There is no penalties. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're fast and you're driving through the field and someone doesn't like that, they could just take you out, and that has happened to me already in the short amount of time I've been racing. So then you got to take it into your own hands and you got to move them out of the way.
Totally.
It's attack or be attacked, if
Okay.
that makes sense. So it's almost like everyone's a shark and you're in the ocean and you got to figure out how to get away, and then you got to be the shark next, right? You're the prey and then you're the
Predator.
predator. So it's definitely difficult from that perspective because I mean you guys put yourself in their shoes or in my shoes. If you're leading the race and you get wrecked and there's no justice afterwards, you're not going to feel very happy. But it's definitely more of a show.
Mhm.
There's more NASCAR eyes. There's more eyes in the NASCAR ARCA series and NASCAR Xfinity series. It's more surreal to be doing that. It's definitely like, you know, holy crap, I'm racing NASCAR. And you're racing some of the guys you watch on TV all the time. But when it comes to Trans Am, I think Trans Am's respectfulness in the series is a little bit better. Just the respect between the drivers and the racecraft's a little bit better.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
I
you saying
think
it's
that's
a
something.
45-second.
Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
No, you say it's like a 45-second penalty in Trans Am. When we in Lyman, we both thought FIA and Formula One thought that was strict. I mean, y'all took it to the next level.
Nah, dude, I've actually argued that before. I mean, some of the wrecks, you're always going to be biased towards yourself. Some of them I don't even feel like it's my fault. But I mean, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, what's it going to be? No, it's 45 seconds. You could win the race and then go back to 16th because maybe someone turned down on your nose. But that's the racing. It is aggressive. People get their elbows out, but you just
Mhm.
can't ruin someone's day. And if the officials think it's your fault, that's your problem. It's over. So it teaches you how to be a respectful race car driver and not tear up your stuff. But then when you go to NASCAR, you're kind of thrown in the deep end and realize that you're going to have to cross that line sometimes. So, but yeah, 45 seconds is
Yeah,
probably
and your
the
45
usual.
seconds is a long time, on a car.
No,
Like I said, that can put you back to 15th, 20th,
yeah, I know that's what I'm saying.
NASCAR, they just kind of it just kind of happens with NASCAR, if someone I guess, the Austin Dillon thing may have crossed the line though, but if that was anywhere else, another road course, they probably wouldn't have, nothing would have gotten
Yeah,
done about it.
yeah. I mean, I don't have too much of an opinion on that. I think as race car drivers, you got to do what you got to do. I think the system forces you to have no choice sometimes, but to forget about respect and get your way in regardless. But I think what his move was right? No, but do I think it was justified? Yeah, I don't know. I think most people would do what he did in his shoes, and if not, um, I don't think they're racing for anything at that point. You got to try to get in
Yeah,
the
I'm the same
playoffs.
way.
It's a playoff thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If you're not going to go for the gap, why be there?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the playoffs are the way we should be doing NASCAR
Mhm.
championships. I think if we had normal championship points races, um, I think that would be more interesting. It'd be consistency. You can't DNF 15 times in a season and still win the championship.
Championship.
I like that better. I wish they did it almost like the Formula One route,
But,
but obviously they aren't, and I don't think they will for a very long time. So,
mhm.
that's the type of racing we're going to get for a while, and fans seem to like it. And even
Yeah,
though they hate it as well, it causes commotion within NASCAR, so people talk about it. So, it is what it is.
kind of, it's one of the things you just kind of got to live with it and let it, let it play its course. But
Yeah.
between the three series, is it a real steep learning curve for you, jumping in different cars week in, kind of week out?
Um. Yeah. I wouldn't say fully driving though. I think it's more learning who you're racing with, learning the racecraft, and being able to deal with the pressure. Like for example, NASCAR, you can't test
Mhm.
anywhere outside of NASCAR, or else you'll get in trouble. So the only time you get to drive a NASCAR is the only 30-minute practice session you get. So like when I first raced at I won't count necessarily Daytona and Talladega. I mean I can. I've never drafted before. I've never had to push anyone before. What I will tell you, it's a lot more difficult than iRacing. But I only got 30 minutes of practice. Sometimes you're racing with people, sometimes you're not, and then you just get thrown into a race. So, for example, Sonoma, my first ever road course race in a NASCAR, you get 30 minutes of practice. It's a ton heavier. The car's got that much more horsepower, and you got to figure it out. So, um, being able to, put a good lap together and learn as much as you can, and not wreck the car or not break anything, and be able to put yourself in the show, and then race with people for 150 miles, which that's the longest race I've ever done. Having to do pit stops, that's terrifying. Pit stops are very, very terrifying, especially for the first time. I botched my first one, but just getting those nerves out of the way, and understanding that you need to learn and soak up as much as you can, for the next race, and not ending your race early or prematurely. And that's probably the most difficult. But when it comes to the driving part, I mean, I've been doing this for so long. I know what I'm doing at this
When-
point. Maybe for people who just starting, that's another uh, barrier to knock down. But yeah, it's the mental side.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured, the learning curve would be a little steeper, your breaking point. So let's say, we'll take example like the road course, Sonoma. You might be braking later in a you more than likely be braking
No, you
later in
will.
the Trans Am car than you would, the Xfinity car. You just got to,
Yeah.
readjust where you brake and where you can put in throttle in and throttle out.
Yes. Yes. That is. You'd be surprised. Race car drivers, or at least most of us, have a good sense on where to go and where to
Mhm.
be. I mean, we've been doing it for so long. Personally, for me, I know some drivers do struggle with that. Some are better than others, but personally, for me, I don't. You just got to feel it out. I mean,
Yeah.
my style is when I first get on the racetrack, I push the limits the first couple laps.
Mhm.
Maybe I miss every apex. I don't care, but I find the limit first, and then I start to back it down. Where some drivers go slow first and then start to push it. So, um, once you find the limit, you just kind of figure it out. I can't
Yeah.
really explain it. It's just a mental thing.
Kind of comes
Yeah.
natural at that point.
Yeah, it's honestly one of the easiest parts is the driving part. I think everything else, with all that weight in your shoulders, trying to carry out a good weekend and look good to people, that's the difficult part.
Yeah,
For
that
sure.
really brings up, racing is, people think it's really a more physical thing, but mentally it's just as hard. Like you said, the Xfinity race was the longest race you had done. Mentally, that's a mentally draining thing. Just you got to stay at it, for what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Mentally that can really drain you.
I can hear you. I think Wyman can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you now.
Oh, okay, you froze for a second.
Uh-oh.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, you might have to go
it's like you
back.
said that the Xfinity race at Sonoma was your longest race you've ran this year. Physically, you got to be able to stay in it, shifting gears but would you say it's mentally more draining staying in the car a lot longer than
Yeah,
a shorter race?
yeah. I mean, it's obviously mentally draining. I think it's very much physically draining as well. I think it's both. Yeah. I mean, here's the problem: if you're not fit enough to race
Mhm.
these things, at the end, your mental side of it starts to fall down because instead of thinking about who the next guy you got to attack, you start thinking about, holy crap, I need to survive this race. I'm getting tired. Only 5 more laps, only 4 more laps as you cross the line. 3 more laps, starting to your vision starts to go. You start to cramp up. You can't be like that. You got to train to a point where you don't have to worry about those things, and you only have to worry about winning the race or attacking the next guy. So, the best way to describe it is maybe Squid Games. It's literally Squid Games, but in a car. You could be taken out and then you fall backwards. You could have a bad pit stop, fall backwards. You could have mechanical issues, fall backwards. You could fall backwards to your own mistakes. It's very, very, very easy to fall backwards, but it's very hard to go forwards. So it's really the last man standing. Like at my first race, I think I passed 10 people in my second pit stop because 10 of them got pit road violations, right? It's really until the last stage, you just gotta stay where you are. Even if you don't make up spots, you will gain spots anyway because of other people's misfortunes. So you got to be able to have a car at the end, save your car, survive the race, pass as many people as you can without damaging your race car, and then you could really go to war at the end. But if you take yourself out of it too early, I don't know, you lose the game. I've never watched Squid Games, but I know what it's about. So it's just a survival.
Yeah, a lot of, like NASCAR, it's a lot of race, it's a race of attrition because so many races, you don't have wrecks early and people don't fall out. And it's even the same with racing sports cars. I've done a lot of SCCA flagging and I've worked a lot of the major road courses like this year at Daytona. We had so many fall out before 2 hours into the race. And, it's kind of some of the classes were like, if you're kind of left in it, you're pretty much into it then. You almost guaranteed a podium or a top five.
Yep. I think some people overthink it. It's literally war, right? I mean, you could be half a second off the whole weekend. But if you keep yourself out of trouble, you'll find yourself up in the fight. And then even when you're not as quick as you probably want to be, sometimes the races end up being a brawl. They're 5 wide in front of you. And just alone them doing that, they're gonna be faster than them. And then who knows? You find yourself leading the race in the last lap because everyone washed up off the track, and then you just got to defend and you win the race. You don't always have to be the fastest to win the race. You just got to be there, and you need to finish the race. You can't win a race if you don't finish it, and you can't win a race if you're not there at the end. So, another way to put it, it's like running a marathon. You got to save your stuff in the beginning, so then you just pass everyone at the end. It's an endurance thing, but you got to be there at the end. So the whole beginning of the day matters the most, and then at the end you're able to fight.
One bad session can't define your whole weekend. Just because you may not have the speed like in practice, that might not define the whole weekend. Because you can always, that's the good thing about having to practices and qualifying is you're able to build momentum. Like if you've never been there, you're able to build constantly, and then by race time, it's a real natural feeling.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's exactly how it is. It's fun.
Which going back on what you said too, with you racing, you said you raced Connor Zilic whenever he was up and coming. Did you like find ways to like learn from him as well, or like?
Yes. So I could give you a little bit of a backstory. I did my first full year of national karting, or the highest level of American karting, in 2020. So I had a lot to learn. And at this point, both Brent Cruz and Connor Zilic were world champions in Europe. So it was a little bit intimidating, but I actually became teammates with Connor under his own team that year. I'm not even fully sure how that happened. It just happened to be that way. And so we raced every weekend, and I was as fast as him. I just couldn't put the races together as quickly as he did in the beginning. And then toward the end of the year, I eventually started to do that. And we ended up winning Vegas at the end of the year, which is one of the biggest karting events in the world. So, which is cool. And so then we ended up leaving that team, but we all raced together. And eventually when I had the experience to do what I needed to do, it was literally me, Brent, Connor every single weekend racing it out. So, you have to learn from people like that, and we still do. Connor and Brent moved to cars a year and a half, 2 years before I did, and then I jumped into it, and I followed the exact same path because I don't know necessarily where to go. So, I mean, Connor raced Trans Am in 2021 and 2022. I did my first year in 2023. Last year, Connor was in Trans Am and was doing good and got a ride in NASCAR. This year is my second year in Trans Am, and I got to ride a NASCAR. So it's kind of like that. So Connor is breaking down the walls and the barriers for us young drivers to follow.
Oh,
And because I started racing later, I'm following him. And I'm the next guy in line. So it's funny how it works. But if you look at the career path, I'm on the same trajectory, but I'm a year and a half,
yeah.
2 years behind. So
Right.
I like that.
Well,
Which I mean, that's not technically a bad thing either. I mean, you still
No,
get to
no,
hang
absolutely.
I
out
mean,
with Connor and everything.
yeah, I mean, what am I gonna do? I can't hit a button and gain all those years
Just
that I don't have.
experience.
So you just got to go slow, you know?
You just got to keep building it along and along. And racing is a sport that takes time. You're not going to go into it. There's once in a generation talents. You look at some of the drivers now that they first go into it. They're already consistently top five. Winning every
Yeah,
race. But it's a momentum. Like it's like the analogy you brought up is with a marathon. You can't use your stuff. Can't use yourself up right at the beginning. You got to slowly build, and then hopefully at the end, you're right up there battling it out at the front.
exactly. And I mean, especially as someone who's in this game. I mean, you could look. I mean, I'm only 19, so we're not going to think. And you guys seem young too. We're not going to think like someone does in their 40s and 50s. But my dad always tells me, and a bunch of other people always tell me to focus on my own path because there is no specific path. Anyone could get there. You could get there from Australian supercar racing like SVG. You could get there from dirt racing. You could get there from road course racing. You could get there from Formula One if someone from there wants to join. You could get there from just being rich. You could get there by not being all that wealthy and having to grind your way there. You could be a prodigy. You could be someone that's overlooked. But there's so many ways to get there. So what really matters is at the end of your career, what kind of name you've built. So I mean, you could look at people like I don't know, most of the NASCAR drivers now that are on the field, they get there. Some of them get there very soon, maybe because they bought their way in, and then you got people like Ross Chastain, who was driving in a not so good car for 8 years in the Xfinity Series, and then finally got his big break. And now look at him, right? So there's a lot of ways to get there, and that's how I look at it. And if that means that driving in the midfield teams for a little bit and trying to learn and figure it out and prove myself and then get a ride eventually, that's what I got to do. But you got to always be confident in your beliefs and believe in yourself that you will eventually make it and just like the journey. I mean, you got to love the journey to do it. So that's really
Journey's one of the best parts of it.
exactly.
You can't do it without having a good journey.
Exactly. And you can't do it without a hard work ethic and a difficult time. If you don't have a difficult time, you're not going to be as well
Definitely.
people who just buy their way.
All right. Which Wyman, I think you had one more question for him.
Yeah, this one can kind of go into two parts, but what would you say is your biggest achievement so far in your career, and where do you want to see your career go? Where would you say when you're looking at the end of the career, you're into your when your career ends and saying, I've done it all, what would you say is the best way to it's possible way to end it?
I mean, I would say biggest achievement is probably making it to NASCAR. I mean, I could say I've made it at 19. It's nowhere where I want to be. I want to be in a top team winning races, but the first step is making it. It's very, very cool to say that. Um, I, I can see I mean, listen, I want to run IMSA. I want to run NASCAR Cup Series. I want to be racing in Europe at one point in the endurance races, maybe 24 hours of Le Mans.
Oh yeah.
I have a lot of goals I've set for myself that I really want to achieve. But again, it's a long journey. I got to figure it out. I want to see myself winning championships in NASCAR, racing at the top level in the Cup Series, and hopefully winning championships there, and winning endurance races on road courses because that's my cup of tea. I believe I have the talent. I got to find the right people around me, and I can make it.
But yeah, and that's really awesome, saying you want to do, the endurance races. You see so many people getting into the endurance racing now. So many drivers from I think that's the cool thing about endurance racing. It's so diverse. You got like,
Yeah, no.
drivers that's driven everything. It doesn't matter if it's F1, IndyCar, or even NASCAR. And then a lot of them just want to do sports cars their whole career.
Yeah, yeah. As a person who's grown up, who is actually going to go to the Formula car route,
Mhm.
and which is all road course. I mean, this is my specialty. This is something I could do. with my eyes closed, just like Kyle Larson could jump in a sprint car and dominate there. This is something I really want to
Yeah.
do. So, if I could get into the IMSA paddock or the WEC paddock in Europe after my NASCAR career, or maybe during my NASCAR career, and do a bunch of that kind of stuff, that'd be the dream, you know. So, but I know America, NASCAR is the pinnacle of that. So, got to get there first.
Yeah, you gotta get one big series before you go to the next big series.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Coach Thomas, we thank you for the time to come and spend the time with us here
oh
and
yeah,
do
it's
this
been
interview.
awesome just get to talk racing with you.
Nah, thank you guys. I mean, listen, you guys are young hustlers as well. So you know you got to do. I who was on the show before me? I heard I'm the second one. So
Dylan Murray.
Dylan Murray.
Jamie McMurray,
Dylan.
Dylan McMurray. Who is that? His son?
Oh no, Murray.
Dylan
Dylan
Murray
Murray.
is
Who,
David Murray's son.
who's David Murray? I don't know. I'm not
He
good with
was
this
a
stuff.
big sports car racer. Probably late '90s, early 2000s.
Oh, that's really cool.
Dylan's he's won a good many MPC Michelin Pilot Challenge races and Scott's
Okay.
and WeatherTech series. But
Yeah, I want to
he's
do. I know I said I want to do that stuff, but I don't necessarily know a lot of the drivers there.
drivers.
It's not like NASCAR when you have like the number 55. That's this guy and this guy, you know. So, um, yeah, that's cool. That's really really cool.
We like try to get a diverse background of all, drivers from me and
Yeah,
Jordan are big race fans of everything. We want to get
Yeah.
someone from just
If it
about any
has
series.
if it has four wheels, we go to it.
I hear you. I hear
Oh
you.
yeah.
When do you guys start doing this stuff?
We just started.
Honest,
Just
about
started.
three or no, not even. Well, yeah, maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So
about
really,
3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Every
it's
time
taking off
a
quicker than
news story
What's
breaks,
the end goal with it?
getting. I mean, if we can get it big enough just to continue this,
you know,
Okay.
I'm gonna well, both of us are gonna, go to some races throughout the end of this year and beginning of next year. And
right,
we're just gonna,
which
try to go talk to people, get people that wanna, maybe after a practice session qualifying or something, just get a few words, because you can
Okay.
always take away from someone, you know,
Yeah, of course.
everyone's answer is gonna be different, but in a way, if we can get different opinions on it, that would, I think, kind of help us.
Oh, it's really cool, guys. I mean, you got to dig deep at a young age, and you gotta have a specific goal and go straight forward for it. So, no, I
Yeah.
respect what you guys are doing. Wait, tell me what races you guys are going to. Maybe I'm down there.
I'll
Um,
be. I'm going to Phoenix for a championship weekend. I'm
Okay.
not going to be there for the truck race, but I'll be there for Xfinity and Cup later on this year.
I'll
Okay.
be my next one will be the Petite Le Mans because I'm gonna be
Okay.
working corners that one, and I'll definitely be there for the Rolex, and I'm gonna try and be there for some of the other Speed Week stuff. Maybe
Okay.
well, they don't do the clash there, the duels maybe.
Okay. That's cool. I'll let you guys know if I'll be down there. I might be racing Daytona
Um,
for Speed Week at some point. Maybe an Xfinity car. I gotta see. I don't know where. Yeah, I don't. We're still trying to figure out plans. This shit is nuts. You know, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So, just gotta keep networking.
yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool. It seems like you're gonna be more of the road course stuff and uh, forgive me. What are you guys' names?
I'm
Jordan,
Wyman and
Okay, okay. And then you're gonna be at Phoenix, and I wish
right?
I may be at. Okay, okay. That's really cool.
Yep.
we try to get
Yeah,
get a background of it all.
yeah, for sure. How old are you guys?
I'm 20
I'm 18.
How old?
18.
and I'm
18.
20.
I'm 19. All right.
And we
Well,
all got the 18, 19, 20, the three numbers right there.
yeah, yeah, man. Well, we got a lot to learn, but you got to start here. So
Got to start
I'm in the
small.
same I'm in the same boat as you guys.
Yep.
Yeah,
Start small and work your way up.
yep, yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
guys. Well,
Well,
I
we sure
appreciate you
thank
guys
you.
having me. What?
And
We
we
sure thank you
appreciate you
again.
coming on here.
No, yeah, I love doing this stuff. It's fun.
Oh yeah, we had a good time doing it.
Yeah. All right.
All right, take care, Thomas, and best of luck to you as you continue your career on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let me know where this is published.
All right,
All
we
right.
will.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right,
All
cool.
right, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
All right, Wyman.